Hello, everybody. This is Vivian Xavier for another edition of GIFF Talks 2021. Today we have Shruti Bora with us, who is an editor, and she lives in Mumbai, India. But her work has been seen or all around the world, actually, because she's worked for OTT platforms as well as some of her work has been theatrically released as well. So today she's taking the time to talk to us about the process of editing and her journey. So, Shruti, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Vivian, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
Well, so I'm just going to start with your journey. How did you decide that editing was something that you wanted to take up as your career and your life's work? Because you went to study media, and it was like an overall thing. So how did you get onto editing, and what about that excites you?
Yeah. So honestly, when I was in my undergraduation, that was also a media course, and I then pursued my master's, which was also a media course. But when I was studying my in my undergraduation, I didn't think I would want to edit. I had never edited before that. But we as a like like all the class was divided into groups, and we were asked to shoot a documentary. So I was all into research and finding out, and so we did that. I did all the research with a friend of mine, and somebody else was assigned to edit, and we shot the film, and then it went into editing. But since we all were students, and then we didn't have enough machines in our like call like for all 35 students, so then we were sharing machines, and we didn't know we had to take backups of projects and thing. And so whatever the other two teammates had edited, we lost all of that. But our professors were kind enough to score us on our whatever we shot, because it was a very intense documentary. It was about superstitious beliefs in certain rural areas of India. So then we graduated, and one day I was traveling, as in I was interning with somebody, so I was going to work, and I realized that a lot of effort has been put into this documentary. We should go back and edit it. So I called a friend and like, let's go back. So we went back to college, and we requested our professor to just give us the edit suite for some time, and he said, okay, there's a vacation going on, you have 20 days. So that's when we both decided we'll go and edit this docu that we shot. And I didn't know how to edit, I didn't know how to cut, I didn't know anything. I had bunked all the editing classes. But thankfully my friends didn't. So we used to call friends and ask, okay, tell us how to cut, how to join two clips or whatever. But we managed to make that into a 8-minute film, and that just blew me away. Like, this whole process of getting 8 hours footage into an 8-minute film and making sense of it. And with documentary, it's never like it's never scripted.
Hmm.
So this was also not scripted, to pick and choose interviews, to put, you know some interview from one person, another interview, and put these together and make sense of it. That really blew me away, and I really loved that process. And that's when I decided I would want to edit in life. And hence then I was, went to do my masters, although I didn't specialize in it. And post my masters, I moved to Bombay, and I started assisting people. And believe me, it's like that was a reality check. So everything that in my head I thought, oh, I knew editing and all, just like went blank. And my real editing journey started once I started assisting people, and I like step by step in the last 10, 12 years have learned, and I'm still learning this process.
So what's the in when you went to Bombay and when you moved there, what was that learning process like? What are the things that you've learned that they don't teach you, say in film school or when you're studying?
Yeah.
You know,
So I think most of it is taught, but I think you'll only learn when you start doing it. And so when we started, I started assisting, and I started observing my mentors make a cut, or why one would choose to use a close-up rather than a long shot, or why one would, cut it 15 frames lesser than I would, and what impact it made. And I think I'm a people's person, and so what drew me to it more was that how it captures the emotions, and it's in your hands. It's in your hands to engage the audience, and you have to make sure whether the audience has to laugh or to cry or to chuckle or to feel love or whatever. It's all in our hands, and to bring out those emotions is such a human thing. Like, it felt so like uh, editing most often than not is taken as a technical job, but I would say it is as good as psychology. It is as good as being a life coach. So for me, that's what that I really enjoy. That I really enjoy living those characters, feeling what they feel, and yeah, I think that's what I
Hmm.
enjoy the most and love about it.
So, what's your process like from getting, from when you get the footage, or even when you say get onto a project? What's your process? I'm sure that from when you started to now, you're probably it has changed as to how
Yeah.
people perceive what your innate talents are as an editor. And when do you come on board? Is it usually in the scripting phase or after it's short? And then
Okay.
once you
So
get the footage, what's your process?
sure. So, unfortunately, I have not been on board on any of the projects before the scripting has begun. I have most often have come on board once the script is logged. But the process is, I mean, of course, you get to read the script, and then we have discussions with the creative team, which is the writers and the directors. And if we have any kind of suggestions, we put it across. Or like when one reads the script, like at least I think editors figure out the, you know, how what in the script feels moving faster, or what feels like, it is slowing the pace of it and all that. So we do have those kind of discussions, and then once the shoot has begun, then we simultaneously start working on it, like parallelly as they are shooting. So it's never that the shoot is done and then we go on board. No, it's
Mm,
always parallel. So just in case if we miss out on something, we know, like, we have enough time to do damage control or whatever. If not, like, not damage control, but just like, for example, if I feel a certain kind of emotion is not coming through, then I can just communicate it to the team, and then we can get it. Apart from that, so till the shoot is like ongoing, I make my cut, like the editor's cut, and once the shoot has like done and the director is free, then we sit together and then we watch it and discuss it. And that's the most interesting process for me. Like, once the skeleton is made, then to trim it and to make it crisper, longer, to see what is working, what is not working, and what is, what kind of feeling one scene is generating, and when put together in the longer thing, that's the most exciting part for me. So yeah, we sit through variation, like a lot of days and things together, where we try different variations of the cut. And then, yeah, I mean, to put it as simple as that, I think that's what a process would be. And of course,
mm,
experiment with different kind of experiment with music. Every director has a different taste, and then you as an editor have to see how to fit into that, because at the end of the day, as like, we have to make sure that we are executing the director's vision. So to completely sink in with what the director wants is what we do.
mm. And I'm guessing that
Yeah.
happens when you're having the initial discussions rather than once you start editing.
Correct, correct. No, it does happen. So, of course, we get an idea of the director's vision when we meet initially and when you have conversations earlier. What I try to do is try and make the first cut somewhere like Depends. If like if I'm in total agreement with what and how the director wants it, then of course then there's no problem at all. But if at all I have a different point of view, then what I try to do is make a cut of mine, and then we then show it to the director, and then we watch it together, and then have discussions, and we mutually come to an agreement before we finalize anything.
Okay. Has there been an instance where you've been so, like, what the director wants and what you want is so far off that,
Mhm.
things, I wouldn't say that things break down, but, how like, I know you said that obviously it's about communication and all, but
Mhm.
has there been an instance or do you remember where, things were just so far off and,
Yeah,
you know,
I wouldn't say very different approaches to a thing, but there have been a couple of times where we've had disagreements, and but there's always communication always helps. So once you put across that why do you think this certain thing works, and why the director thinks a certain thing works, then we come to a mutual understanding. At the end of the day, it's all for the merit of the film. Whatever you do,
mm,
film, show, whatever you do is for the film. So if there is a point when I think no, what the other person is saying makes more sense, then we come to a then I agree. Or if the other person thinks what I as an editor have to say, and if they feel that this version looks better, but we definitely try both the versions. We definitely try, and that's the boon of digital technology that we can try as many
mm,
options as possible.
definitely.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so I
So,
think, and most often than not, we end up coming to a middle ground where
hmm.
a bit of it and a bit of this. Yeah.
Mm. So, Shruti, I just want to sort of talk about the difference between, because you've done obviously documentaries, you've worked on narratives which are for OTT as well as theatrical release. What's the difference in the approach for them? Because obviously, at the end of the day, we are talking about working for the, like you said, the merit of the story. What's the most glaring differences within
Oh,
each platform?
okay. So, I think one major difference is when something is releasing for a theater, and when I expect my audience to go to the theater and watch, I'm already like the audience has a lot of expectations from to because they are taking that effort to go to the theater, watch it, spend X amount on it, and of course the theatrical experience is very different. You're watching it on such a big screen, so the way we cut for a theatrical release is slightly, I wouldn't say very different, but it's slightly different from how we would cut for an OTT, because once like OTT, you don't know what people are watching on. They might be watching it on a computer, on a TV, on a laptop, or maybe even on a phone. So that, and other thing what is happening with OTTs is the attention span of people has become very little.
Hmm.
So that is something you have to consider while you're editing, that you have to keep it crisp and concise, and you cannot just spend a lot of time on a certain thing, which I think we could have done on in a theatrical release uh, of that. So, and this is I'm mainly talking about mainstream stuff, and not, of course, art films are a different genre altogether. They
Hmm.
have their own language, but I'm talking about more commercial stuff because that's what I've worked on predominantly.
Hmm. So, can you give me some examples of, like, because you worked on uh, three TV shows for
Mhm.
the OTT platforms. Can you give me some examples of what, how you had to sort of trim things down because it wouldn't work, like, if it was, say, if it was for a movie in theatrical release.
Mhm. Like I would like to give you an example of Masaba Masaba. I think a lot of like initially when I had started editing it, I cut it like a pure drama. Like I gave I mean, the way I in my head it played was to give, to make it a proper mother daughter relationship, to have a lot of emotions in it, like how one feels, like when a mother has taunted you, and like it was like a proper very emotional thing, as opposed to what you see in our final thing is a much faster and much pacier way of putting it. Because and it worked also, because I think people now do not want to like spend more time on these things. They like to keep moving forward, like chicken, what's next, what next, what's next. So for that we had to make it quite pacier. Does this answer
Hmm.
your question?
Yeah, yeah. But
Mhm.
so like did you in terms of like the overall the pace, especially like pertaining to your conversation with the director, or you, is that something that you decide, or is that something that the director says no, I mean, I know again is it all comes through with the conversations, but whose quote unquote sort of role is it to decide that?
So it is very subjective. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's the director, but it's always the team, because there is you, the editor, there is the director, there is the producer, there are these team of editors with you. Like Masaba, we were two editors. Like I was editing few episodes, and the other one was editing few episodes. Then we had our associates and assistants. So like once we made a cut, we would step back, watch it, see how it felt, and then put ourselves in the shoes of audiences and watch it and figure what was working, what wasn't working. So
Hmm.
that's how the process is. But like I can't pinpoint and say this is the director's call or this is the editor's call, or it is like most often than not mutual. But one has to agree that at the end of the day, the director is the like
Hmm.
she has the final say. She or he, sorry, I said she because Masaba was a she, but she or he
It's
has the
completely
final
fine.
say. Yeah, they have a final say because
Okay.
it's their vision. So
Hmm.
mm,
It's interesting because you uh, you laid out the tier that's there, like you and obviously your associates and the assistants. So can you just break down that, because I know that you started off as an assistant and you worked on some
mm,
really good movies. The most recent was obviously Majidi's. I think that's the last time I spoke to you about that, but
uh,
also Detective Byomkesh Bakshi. So how, like, you know what does the assistant do,
mhm.
and your time as an assistant to now, what did that teach you?
Okay. So as an assistant, so when I was assisting, at least there used to be only one assistant who would handle everything. Now it has become like, now we have an assistant and we have an associate. And I think because budgets have increased or the timelines have reduced, it could be the second one most often than not. The timelines are so tight, so we end up having two assistants. So an assistant, primarily he organizes stuff for us, basically to sync, sort footage, to help us get all our sound effects, musics, all the, and then finally once everything is done, to export out and send stuff for post, like DI, sound, music, get stuff from VFX, put it like with the, watch it in a flow, because VFX you get certain, like you get only those shots which have
Yeah.
to, yeah. So then put it and watch it in a flow and see, and then show it to us or whatever. An associate is basically he or she will work on more creative side of it, to line up stuff. Sometimes, like for example, if I am working on a web show and I am busy working on a certain episode, and the director wants to make some changes on the other episode, then we divide our work. Like sometimes the director can sit with the associate and work on certain things. This is primarily because of the crunched timelines. And I would say an associate more has a creative contribution to the whole process. without undermining any of the role of an assistant, because without the base none of us could have done anything.
Yeah.
So that, and then once our cuts are ready, I think all of us have one job only: to keep watching, to keep working, to see what's, what's working, what's not working, to maintain our objectivity, and to just work together. And the more the merrier. You, every time you watch your cut with new people or new perspective, because editing is also a very isolated job. So if I'm sitting alone in the room and editing, and then I lose objectivity, I call somebody from outside, whoever it is, like maybe the assistant associate, to come and watch with me and to give me perspective. So I think once the main skeleton of the film is done, all our jobs become like equal. I can't say, it's all about seeing,
Mm,
shaping the uh, film or a show.
mm,
Yeah, and my role from assistant to now. So, okay, so while I was assisting, I was a blank slate. I had no clue what was happening. I just knew how to operate the machine, and I knew putting shots together would may help me make a film. Uh, so, but I have learned a lot. I think, thankfully, I've been lucky. I've like got really good projects to work on. So my first thing that happened to me was my technical foundation had become very strong, because I initially worked as a data manager for a year or two, and then I started assisting. So working in a DI studio itself helped me make my technical foundation very strong. Also, that was the time when in India, analog to digital, shift from analog to digital was happening. So some of the few initial films that were shot on digital had come to the studios, and that time we didn't have like Resolve available or any kind of these transcoding softwares available very easily, so all this would come to studios. So I think, I started learning how to, transcode footage, how to use sound, whatever. So that made my technical thing very, technical background very strong. Secondly, while assisting, one good thing that happens is you always have someone above you. So, like I told you, I was the only one assisting till I was assisting. I would make lineups and cuts and show it to my mentor. And Namrita Rao is a very popular editor in India, and I was assisting her. And she always watched my edits, and she would tell me what is working, what is not working, how I should, look at things differently, and how I could improve my skills. And so eventually, while I then I ended up assisting three or four editors. So eventually, observing each editor work, and everybody has a different style, and every film is also different. Every film has a
mm,
different language. So, like I've had the fortune of working on dramas, thrillers, and everything has is so different in their own way. So I think observing and learning from them was a great learning. And when I started working independently, all that learning was one side. But when you do it, and when you're stuck and there's nobody else to figure it out, and you have to figure it out, that's when you really learn. That's when, like,
mm,
you may know all the concepts and everything, but when you have to do it, that's when it learns. So now when I get a project, I'm not worried about, oh, this is like supposed to be a 2-hour film, but the first cut looks like a 4-hour, because I know we'll manage to crunch it up to that time, we keeping the essence of it intact. So I think for me, this, and every day is a challenge, because every scene is different. That's the best thing about our jobs, that it doesn't get monotonous,
mm.
because
True.
every story is different, every scene is different, so every day it's a new challenge.
Mm. Perfect.
Yeah,
That's very well put. My
yeah,
last
and
question.
yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, I was
No, no,
just saying
finish
that
your thought.
editing is like solving a puzzle. You just have to find pieces and put together, and that's what excites me.
Wow. My last question is going to be again segueing from assistantship to
Hmm.
doing your own thing and being your own. Well, I wouldn't say being your own boss, because we eventually have to you know answer to the director and producer. But
Correct.
Any words of advice for because no one really gets into filmmaking saying I want to be an editor. Everybody is like I want to be a director, I want to
Mm.
be a producer. A lot of people now are saying I want to be a cinematographer, but for editing, like there are not too many people who want to get in there. But for those brave-hearted souls who do want to take it up, what are your words of advice?
Oh, I think just be patient. Editing anyway teaches you a lot of patience, and I think just keep like my mentor always said this to me, that editing is a karat vidya. Karat vidya in Hindi means it is a, as much as you keep practicing it, you'll keep learning from it. Like any other skill, like painting, like dancing, you have to just keep at it and you'll keep getting better at it.
Mm,
So that would be my advice. And yeah, we have to just keep trying. I don't know what else. Like
mm,
we just have to be very very patient, because this is not something that comes overnight. It took me a very very long time, especially coming from a, like, I am not somebody who's grown up watching a lot of films, or who's seen films and decided, oh, I want to make this film, or I want to become a editor by watching films. And honestly, I don't watch much even now. For me, it's it's more experiential. Like, I do it, I enjoy it. So like, practice only made me what I am. So that's what I
mm,
can say.
yeah.
So like,
Just practice. This actually reminds me of something one of a cinematographer I actually worked with recently told me. It's like filmmaking is not an intelligence sport; it's a wisdom-based sport. The
yeah,
more you do it, the wiser you get, and that's how things move forward. So that's
correct. And it's all about experiences. Like, the more you experience things outside of your work, the more I think you'll get better at what you're doing. Like, observing people, like, I feel this has made me a bit more perceptive, I would say. I think I'm better with people now, because you deal with so many characters and everything. So, like I said earlier also, it's a very um, human kind of a, like, I don't know how to put it, but if you know what I mean.
mm,
uh,
it's a very
it's like
humanistic
any,
experience and approach.
yeah, it's like building relationships.
Mm.
Mm. At least that's the way I see it.
One puzzle piece at a time.
One puzzle piece at a time. And you need
Uh,
not necessarily always connect with every character you're working on, but I think there'll always be some takeaway. There'll
mm,
always be something one will get out of it. So,
perfect. Well,
mm,
Shruti, thank you so much for joining us today
thank you,
and
Vivian,
taking
for
out the
inviting
time.
me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's at least this way we were able to see each other after what 4 years. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, but this has been an absolute fun time. Thank you once again, and
Thank
I
you.
wish you all the best with you know your life ahead.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. See you.